Graduating mom walk stage with baby in arms. Everyone was speechless. The auditorium was packed. Families filled the seats, cheering, clapping, holding flowers, snapping pictures. It was graduation day. The moment every student had dreamed of. One by one, names were called, and graduates crossed the stage, smiling wide as they reached for their diplomas. Then they called her name. Monica Foster. There was a pause in the air. Not a bad one, just a different kind. As Monica stepped forward in her black gown and cap, the dean looked up from the list and blinked in surprise. People in the crowd tilted their heads. There was something unusual about her gown. It moved, gently. And then a tiny hand slipped out from under the fabric. A soft sound, barely a baby's coo, carried into the microphone. The room went silent for a beat. Then it happened. Someone gasped. Another person stood up. And suddenly the whole auditorium was clapping, loud, long, and with tears in their eyes. The dean smiled, reaching out not just with one hand but with both, handing Monica her diploma and nodding toward the small bundle she carried against her chest. She smiled, her eyes glassy but proud. And in that moment, the world saw not just a graduate, but a mother, a fighter, a story most people couldn't begin to imagine. But how did Monica get here? To understand that walk, you have to go back. Back to a tiny apartment with peeling paint, a girl with pigtails, and a gold star sticker still stuck to her math test. Monica was 7. She had just gotten home from school. Her shoes were too big. Her smile was wide. She was proud. She couldn't wait to show her parents. "Mom? Dad? I got a star today," she called out as she pushed open the front door. Silence. That was the first thing that felt wrong. The second was the couch. It wasn't there. She stepped inside, her little fingers clinging to the paper in her hand. She looked around. The kitchen. Chairs were gone, the fridge was empty, the lights were off. Her voice shook as she called out again. "Mom? Dad? Are you here?" Nothing. Room by room, she searched. Confused at first, then scared. Everything that had made the place feel like home was missing. Everything but her. They had left her. The gold star crumpled in her hand. She didn't even notice when it slipped to the floor. She stood there in the middle of the room, frozen. For hours. She didn't cry at first, just waited. She kept waiting. And waiting. Until the sun started to go down and the room turned dark. A knock on the door startled her. A woman in a neat coat and soft eyes knelt down and asked her name. Monica didn't answer at first. Her mouth just trembled. Then the tears came, hot, fast, and painful. "My name is Monica. They left me." The woman's face fell. She gently reached out and said, "It's okay. I'm here now. You're not alone." But Monica felt alone. That night, she slept in a bed that wasn't hers, in a house that smelled different. She stared at the ceiling, wide-eyed and silent, listening to sounds she didn't recognize. Why did they leave? Was it her fault? What did she do wrong? Those questions would follow her for years. She would move from house to house, family to family, trying her best to be helpful, to be quiet, to not take up space. Sometimes the people were kind. Sometimes they weren't. But it never lasted. Nothing lasted. One home she stayed in for 3 months. She almost let herself believe she could stay longer. Then one night, she heard the woman who had taken her in whispering in the hallway. "She's a good kid," the woman said, "but she's just always watching. It's unsettling." And that was it. Monica was packed up again. Another goodbye. Another start over. She learned not to cry when she moved. She learned not to unpack all the way. She kept her things small, her heart smaller. But there was one place where she felt different. School. Books didn't leave. Teachers sometimes stayed longer than foster families. And Monica? She was good at school. Really good. A teacher once told her, "You're going to go far, Monica." She wanted to believe it. She wanted to believe she could be more than just the girl someone had walked away from. She held on to that hope, and even though the road would twist and break and try to tear her down again and again, she never let go of that dream, because one day, she'd walk that stage and she wouldn't be walking it alone. The first home after her parents left felt like a stranger's guest room. Too neat, too quiet, too temporary. Monica was 8 now. She had stopped asking where her parents were. She stopped asking a lot of things, but deep down, she still hoped that maybe, just maybe, someone would come for her. That someone would want her. Instead, she kept moving. Some families smiled and told her she could call the place home. But the way they looked at her when she was too quiet, too sad, or too grown up for her age told a different story. One woman called her too serious for a child. Another said she seemed closed off. But Monica wasn't trying to be cold. She was trying to protect what little pieces of herself she still had. Every time she got comfortable, she'd hear the same sentence, like a bell that rang too often. "We just think she might be better placed elsewhere." And off she'd go. Another bedroom. Another plastic bag of clothes that didn't fit quite right. Another goodbye with no one crying but her. Monica learned fast that love came with conditions. That smiles could mean anything. That being good wasn't always enough, but she tried anyway. She folded laundry that wasn't hers. Helped younger kids with their homework. Ate every bite on her plate, even when her stomach twisted. She sat through church on Sundays, said, "Thank you" too many times, and apologized even when she didn't know what for. Still, people let her go. The worst part wasn't the leaving. It was when they acted like she had never been there at all. But no matter where she ended up, Monica always found her way to the school library. Books didn't ask her questions she couldn't answer. They didn't move away or disappear overnight. They stayed. She could sit in a corner and read for hours, letting the characters carry her somewhere safer. She especially loved stories about people who overcame hard things. Not the magical ones, the real ones. The ones where someone got knocked, down over and over again, and still got back up. In school, Monica wasn't the loudest. She wasn't the funniest. But she was the one always raising her hand, always staying late, always asking for extra credit. School was the only place where her effort paid off. One afternoon in 7th grade, her English teacher, a kind woman with tired eyes, stopped Monica. After class, "Your essay on To Kill a Mockingbird was incredible," she said. "You have a voice, Monica. A real one." Monica blinked, unsure what to say. Praise still caught her off guard. "There's a statewide writing contest coming up," the teacher added. "You should enter." Monica nodded, but inside, she was scared. She had never won anything. She wasn't used to trying things that could lead to disappointment. Still, she wrote, not for the prize, but because for once, someone believed she could do more. Weeks later, when her teacher handed her the results and said, "You placed second," Monica held the certificate like it was gold. She didn't even care it wasn't first. For the first time, something she had written, her thoughts, her heart, had been seen. That small win lit a fire in her. From that moment, school wasn't just a safe place. It became her way out. Her proof that maybe she wasn't just some broken kid passed from house to house. Maybe she could build something different. But even that wasn't easy. Her foster homes changed. So did her schools. She'd start the year in one town and finish it in another. Each time she made a friend, she'd be packing again before they got to know her favorite color or the name of her favorite book. Still, she kept showing up to class. Still, she kept raising her hand. Still, she kept going. By the time Monica reached high school, she had stopped hoping for a forever home. But she hadn't stopped hoping for a future, and she was working for it. Hard AP classes, weekend tutoring jobs, babysitting, part-time shifts at the diner. She barely slept, barely ate. But she held tight to one dream: college, a place where no one could take her away. A place she could finally choose for herself. She used to sit in her tiny foster bedroom, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars she stuck on the ceiling, whispering, "I'm gonna get out of here. One day I'll have my own home, my own life." But dreams, even stubborn ones, were fragile, and life had a way of testing just how badly you wanted them. Still, she didn't stop. She never stopped, because somewhere deep inside, even when she didn't say it out loud, Monica still believed that she wasn't just meant to survive. She was meant to become something more. Monica's life in high school moved fast, like she was running through a storm with her eyes half closed. But even in the chaos, she kept pushing forward. The walls around her heart were thick by then, shaped by years of feeling like she didn't belong anywhere. But school? That still made sense to her. It was one place where effort meant something. She spent her lunches in the library. Most kids laughed in the cafeteria, talked about dating, parties, summer trips. Monica listened from afar, quietly munching a peanut butter sandwich, wishing she had stories like theirs. But hers were different, lonelier, sharper around the edges. When her classmates went home to parents, Monica went back to foster homes with rules posted on the fridge and bedrooms she shared with strangers. Her backpack was her most valuable possession. It always had everything she needed: schoolwork, a few clothes, a photo of her younger self taped to a notebook, and a copy of a book she'd reread so many times the cover had faded. That backpack followed her everywhere. At 16, things got harder. Her foster family at the time, while not unkind, made it clear she had to help out financially. "You're old enough now," they said. So she picked up evening shifts at a local diner, pouring coffee, clearing tables, learning to smile through the ache in her feet. Her days were filled with textbooks, her nights with customers and dirty dishes. Then, homework, sometimes done, with heavy eyes at the back of the diner after close, sometimes scribbled half awake at the kitchen table. She didn't complain. Complaining never changed anything. But the cracks started to show. Her grades, still good, started to slip. Not enough to worry teachers at first, but enough for Monica to notice. And she noticed everything. The day she nearly passed out in the hallway was the day something changed. She'd skipped breakfast. Again! Stayed up too late studying. Again! As she rushed from chemistry to history, the lights started to blur. The floor tilted. Her knees buckled. "Whoa! Careful," a voice said as a firm hand caught her elbow. It was Mr. Chen, her chemistry teacher. He helped her sit down against the wall. She tried to smile, say she was fine, but the words got stuck in her throat. And then, without warning, she cried. Not quiet tears, deep, gasping sobs that she'd buried for years. Mr. Chen didn't say anything at first. He just sat with her. After a while, he spoke. "Monica, what's really going on?" And for the first time in a long time, she told someone about the years in foster care, about never feeling safe, about how hard she was trying and how tired she was, about working late, studying harder, and still feeling like it would never be enough. He listened the whole time. When she finished, he didn't offer cliches or false hope. He just said, "You shouldn't have to carry all of this alone." Then, he reached into his desk and handed her a brochure for a youth support program that offered mentorship, therapy, academic help, and, most important to her, financial assistance. Monica stared at it like it was too good to be real. "Why are you helping me?" she whispered. Mr. Chen gave a small smile. "Because I see how hard you're fighting, and you don't need to do it by yourself anymore." She took the brochure home that night, read it cover to cover, and cried again. But this time, not just from pain, from the unfamiliar feeling of hope. The next week she applied. 2 weeks later, she got in. For the first time, she had a team behind her. A tutor helped her balance her schoolwork. Her part-time job was swapped for one with better hours. A counselor helped her unpack the years of hurt she'd buried so deep she didn't even realize how heavy it had become. She started smiling more. Not the fake kind, the real kind. Slowly she began to believe that maybe her life didn't have to be a fight every step of the way. She started raising her hand in class again. She joined a student club. She made 2 friends who didn't just tolerate her. They liked her. They invited her to study, to hang out. She almost didn't say yes, but she did. And that was a new kind of victory. College no longer felt like a faraway dream. It felt possible. It felt close. She began filling out applications one after another, each one a letter to the future she never thought she could have. But even then, there were still nights when doubt crept in like shadows under the door. She'd sit alone in her tiny shared bedroom, the hum of traffic outside, a textbook in her lap, and whisper to herself, "You're not going back. You're going forward. You deserve this." And for the first time in her life, she believed it might be true. College had always been Monica's dream, but when she finally stepped onto campus that first day, it didn't feel real. She kept touching the straps of her backpack, checking for her ID, rereading her class schedule. Not because she forgot anything, but because she still couldn't believe she belonged here. Westfield University felt like another world. The trees lining the sidewalks were taller. The air smelled clean. Students moved with ease, laughing between buildings, coffee cups in hand, talking about things Monica wasn't used to hearing: study abroad, summer internships, music festivals. It was both exciting and overwhelming. But for once, Monica wasn't looking for an exit. She was looking for a future. Her dorm room was tiny, but it was hers. She taped up quotes from her old notebooks. "Grow through what you go through." And in the corner of her desk, she placed a single photo, her high school graduation, holding the certificate she thought she'd never earn. She didn't bring much from her past, just that photo, a few books, and her will to keep going. In the second semester of her freshman year, something unexpected happened. She met someone. It started small. A group project in Intro to Psychology. She was paired with a guy who always came to class early and always sat near the back. His name was quietly written on his notebook. He wasn't loud or pushy, just thoughtful, focused, kind. He asked her one afternoon while they worked on their slides, "So, what made you pick psychology?" Monica hesitated. She didn't talk about her past easily. Most people didn't know she'd grown up in the system. It wasn't something she led with, but something about the way he asked made her feel like she didn't need to hide. "I want to help kids like me," she said quietly. "Kids who've been through stuff, who don't always get heard." He didn't flinch, didn't ask uncomfortable questions. He just nodded. "That's real," he said. "Takes strength to turn pain into purpose." That sentence stayed with her. His name was Daniel. They started meeting up after class, then grabbing coffee, then walking to the library together, sometimes talking, sometimes just studying in silence. It was easy with him, safe. Monica didn't realize how much she'd missed that feeling, being seen and not judged. She tried to protect her heart. But love has a way of sneaking in when you're not looking. The first time he reached for her hand during a late-night walk, she almost pulled away out of instinct. But then he looked at her, not just at her face, but into her, and she let him hold on. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered once. "Me either," he smiled. "We'll figure it out." And they did. They weren't perfect, but they were real. He learned how to read her silences. She learned to let him in, slowly, gently, like opening a window after a long winter. They made each other better. By their junior year, they'd made plans for the future. Monica wanted to specialize in child psychology. Daniel wanted to work in social services. They talked about building a home where every child felt safe, seen, and loved. Then, the second unexpected thing happened. Monica got pregnant. She found out during midterms. Her body had been off for weeks. Tired, dizzy, emotional in ways she couldn't explain. A cheap pregnancy test from the campus pharmacy changed everything in 3 quiet minutes. She stared at the plus sign and felt her heartbeat echo in her ears. She wasn't ready. She was terrified. But somewhere deep beneath the panic, she felt something else. Love. Fear came first, but love followed. She called Daniel that night, voice shaking. "Can you come over? I need to tell you something." He came right away. When she told him, his face froze. For a second, she thought maybe she'd just broken the one good thing she had. But then he smiled, softly, not with shock, but awe. He knelt beside her, resting his hand gently on her stomach. "We're having a baby," he whispered. "Monica, we're gonna be a family." The word family nearly broke her. They sat in silence for a long time, just holding each other. She cried. So did he. But not out of fear, out of hope. From that moment on, they were all in. They moved into a tiny off-campus apartment. It wasn't much, just 2 small rooms, faded carpet, a sink that dripped no matter how tight you turned the knob. But it was theirs. And for Monica, it was more than she'd ever had. They spent weekends thrifting baby clothes, reading parenting books, picking out names. Daniel sang to her belly every night, his voice low and warm, even when the baby was barely the size of a lemon. He always ended the song with the same words, "We can't wait to meet you. You're already so loved." Monica would fall asleep to that sound. She felt whole, but just when it seemed like everything was finally coming together, life changed everything. Again. It was raining the day Monica's life changed again. Not a heavy storm, just that slow, steady kind of rain that blurs windows and makes everything feel a little softer, a little sadder. Monica was sitting in her lecture hall, half listening, to a discussion about behavioral development, one hand absent-mindedly resting on the curve of her belly. Daniel had texted her minutes earlier. "Heading to the store for ice cream. You and the baby want anything?" She smiled, texting back, "Chocolate chip cookie dough, please. Love you." It was the last message she ever sent him. When class ended, she stood up slowly, stretching out the tightness in her back. The rain had picked up outside and her classmates scattered toward the doors, jackets over their heads, laughter echoing in the hallway. Monica moved slower, her mind on her growing to-do list, reading for child psychology, an essay due in 3 days, diapers to pick up, laundry to fold. She didn't notice the 2 campus security officers standing near the exit until one of them gently said her name. "Monica Foster?" She paused. "Yes?" Their faces were calm, but too calm. Careful. She felt the ground under her start to shift. "There's been an accident," the taller one said softly. "We're so sorry." The world spun. Words came out of their mouths, but they didn't make sense. Monica heard phrases. "Head-on collision. Intoxicated driver. He didn't make it. No, 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 not him, not Daniel, not her Daniel." Her legs gave out and she sank to the floor right there in the hallway. She didn't scream. She didn't speak. She just shook. In the hospital, she was led to a quiet room. Daniel's body was there. Still. Cold. Too quiet. The boy who used to hum lullabies to her belly was now just silence. She touched his hand. It didn't feel real. It still doesn't. Everything after that was a blur. His funeral, his mother's tears, Monica holding her belly while strangers said, "Stay strong," and "He'd want you to be okay," and "God has a plan." She wanted to scream. She wanted to sleep for a year. She wanted to wake up and find it hadn't happened. But none of that happened. Instead, the days moved forward without her. The apartment was too quiet now. His jacket still hung by the door. His toothbrush still sat by the sink. Every corner of the room reminded her of the life they had planned, and the one she'd have to live without him. She stopped answering texts, stopped going to class. She barely ate, barely moved. Only when the baby kicked did she feel anything. The tiny movements reminded her that something was still here. Something was still coming, but instead of joy, she felt fear. What if she couldn't do this? What if she failed? One night, months later, near the end of her pregnancy, Monica sat in the rocking chair Daniel had put together, one hand on her belly, tears on her cheeks. She whispered to the child growing inside her, "I don't know how to do this without him. I'm scared, baby. I'm so scared." The baby kicked, strong, steady. It was like an answer. She closed her eyes and took a breath. She got a notebook from the kitchen drawer, the one she and Daniel had used for baby names and checklists. And on a blank page, she started writing a letter. "My sweet Isaiah, I don't know what kind of mother I'll be. I don't even know what tomorrow will feel like. But I know this. You are already loved. Your daddy wanted you more than anything in the world. And though he's not here, his love is all around us, in the quiet moments, in the strength he gave me. I promise you, my child, I won't leave. Not ever. No matter how tired I get, no matter how scared I feel. You and me? We're a team now. We're going to do this. Together." When she put down the pen, something shifted. It wasn't healing. That would take time. It wasn't peace. She wasn't there yet. But it was resolve. She would not be the kind of parent who disappeared. 2 weeks before her due date, on a cold morning in early spring, her water broke. Monica labored for hours, alone but determined. And when they finally placed her baby in her arms, tiny, crying, perfect, she whispered through tears, "Hi, Isaiah. I'm your mom." She pressed his cheek against hers and knew, in that moment, her world would never be the same. There would still be grief, still nights when she woke up crying, reaching for a voice that would never answer. But now, there was Isaiah, and she would fight for him the same way she had always fought for herself. The apartment was quieter than usual, not because it was peaceful, but because Monica was learning to listen differently. Every creak, every whimper, every shift in the baby monitor became part of her new world. Isaiah was just 3 weeks old, and the walls already felt smaller, heavier, like time had changed shape completely. Sleep came in short, broken bursts. Nights blurred into mornings. Her textbooks sat unopened on the edge of the kitchen table, their spines bent from being moved again and again, but never opened. The spring semester was about to start in a few days. Monica stood at the sink one night, holding a cold cup of coffee she never got to drink, staring at the calendar pinned to the fridge. Midterms, deadlines, group projects, graduation, all the things that used to drive her were still there. But now they had to live beside diapers, doctor appointments, and bottles. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. She wasn't saying it to anyone in particular, just the quiet. The walls? Maybe to herself. Isaiah let out a small cry from his bassinet. Monica was there in seconds, gently picking him up and cradling his head against her chest. His tiny fingers gripped her shirt like they already knew the world could be unpredictable, but she was his anchor. "Okay," she whispered. "One thing at a time." That became her motto. one thing at a time. Monica returned to class the next week, bleary-eyed and 10 minutes late. Isaiah had spit up twice. Before she even made it out the door. She hadn't eaten. She'd barely showered. Her backpack was packed with notebooks, formula, and baby wipes all shoved together. She pushed Isaiah's stroller into the back of her lecture hall, hoping no one would notice. But they did. Not with judgment, just with surprise. Eyes turned, then quickly turned away. The professor, mid-lecture, paused only slightly before giving a nod that felt like a quiet, "Welcome back." She sat there holding her son, rocking him softly while trying to take notes one-handed. Later that day, when she picked him up from the small campus daycare, the worker gently pulled her aside. "He cried for most of the morning," she said, with a small, understanding smile. "He's still adjusting, I'm sure." Monica nodded. The guilt hit fast and hard. Was she doing the right thing by staying in school? That night, Isaiah wouldn't sleep. He was colicky, fussy, overtired, just like her. Monica tried everything. Rocking, singing, swaddling. She ended up sitting on the bathroom floor, the fan running to calm him down, both of them crying together. "I miss him, baby," she said softly into Isaiah's hair. "I miss your daddy so much." The next morning, as Monica opened her door to grab a delivery she couldn't even remember ordering, she saw her neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, standing in the hallway, a warm smile on her face and a casserole dish in her hands. "I heard the little one crying last night," she said, not unkindly. "I thought maybe you could use a hand, or at least a warm meal." Monica stood frozen for a moment, the smell of baked pasta and garlic flooding her senses. Then, without thinking, she started to cry. It was the first real act of kindness she'd received since the funeral. Mrs. Rodriguez didn't leave. She sat with Monica while she ate. She held Isaiah so Monica could shower. And from that day on, she became part of Monica's circle, the one that started small and grew slowly. Monica's classmates, Jade, a quiet girl from sociology, started walking with her to class. Then offered to hold Isaiah when he got fussy. A few days later, 2 others joined them in the library, pushing tables together so Monica wouldn't feel isolated. Her professors noticed, too. Dr. Thompson, her child development teacher, said, "You're literally applying what you learn every day. Don't be afraid to bring him with you if you need to." Soon, Isaiah became known around campus. He was the baby in the psychology wing, the tiny study buddy, the unofficial mascot of Monica's journey. Her study group met in her apartment now. People brought snacks. One student started a small fundraiser to help her with baby supplies. Another organized a babysitting rotation so Monica could prep for finals. It was unexpected. She had lived most of her life bracing for people to leave, but now people were showing up. Again and again, even when she didn't ask. Still, some nights were brutal. Isaiah teething, bills late, deadlines stacking up. Monica would sit at her desk, typing a paper with one hand, rocking the stroller with the other, her eyes red from exhaustion. But in those quiet hours, when Isaiah finally fell asleep, she'd look at him and whisper, "We're doing it, baby. 1 page at a time, 1 class, 1 night." She didn't feel powerful or strong or inspiring most days, but she kept going, because she had made a promise, to herself, to her son, and to the man they had both lost. And every diaper changed, every class attended, every paper turned in was her way of keeping it. The sun rose gently on graduation day, the kind of golden light that doesn't just warm your skin, it touches your soul. Monica had been awake for hours, though. Not from nerves, not entirely. Isaiah had stirred before dawn, babbling sleepily as he nestled against her shoulder. Monica held him close, rocking back and forth in the soft chair Daniel had once assembled with shaky, excited hands. It creaked with every movement, but she didn't mind. That creak had become part of her rhythm. "You ready for this, little man?" she whispered, brushing a hand over Isaiah's dark curls. "We're not just walking for a diploma today. We're walking for every night we made it through. Every person who said we couldn't." She laid out Isaiah's tiny cap and gown, black like hers, with the smallest gold tassel she'd ever seen. It was probably meant as a keepsake, but Monica had decided he would wear it today. He had earned it just as much as she had. As she got dressed, she moved slowly, carefully adjusting her gown to cradle Isaiah against her chest. He had done it before, tucked inside his favorite wrap, warm and safe. Today, he would be wrapped close to her heart, where he had always been. Just before leaving, Monica stood in front of the mirror. Her tassel hung to the right. Her eyes looked tired but proud. She had imagined this moment since she was 13 years old. Back when college had felt like a fantasy, back when stability meant staying in the same foster home for more than 6 months. Now, it was real. As she walked across campus, her black flats scuffed from months of wear, she could hear the buzz of celebration, laughter, applause, the flutter of programs being fanned in the June heat, graduates in every direction, hugging, posing for photos, adjusting their caps. She glanced around. So many families, so many proud parents. For a second, a sharp pang hit her chest. She thought about her own, wherever they were. She wondered if they even remembered her name. But that ache was quickly replaced by something else. Mrs. Rodriguez was standing at the entrance of the auditorium, holding a bouquet of flowers, tears in her eyes already. Behind her were Monica's classmates, Jade and Malik and others from her study group, all grinning. Dr. Thompson waved from a few rows up. Even the dean of students caught her eye and gave her a respectful nod. She wasn't alone. She never really had been. Inside the auditorium, the air buzzed with anticipation. Names were called, one by one. Cheers erupted. Cameras flashed. And then, Monica Foster. She stood up slowly, took a breath, felt Isaiah stirred gently against her chest. Her legs felt heavy at first, like all the weight of the past few years had gathered in her knees. But as she stepped forward, it lightened. Each footfall was a piece of her story. Abandonment. Foster. Homes. Overnight shifts. Falling in love. Losing love. Becoming a mother. Refusing to give up. The gown moved with her. So did Isaiah. As she reached the stage, a tiny hand peeked out from beneath the fabric. A soft gurgle echoed through the microphone. The crowd went silent for a moment. Then, applause. Loud, surprised, emotional. Some people stood, some wiped tears. The dean paused, then smiled and leaned into the mic. "Well, looks like we've got a 2-for-1 graduate today. Laughter, clapping." Monica smiled as she took the diploma in one hand, gently supporting Isaiah with the other. The moment felt surreal. She had walked so many hard roads to get here. And now, here she was. On a stage she had once only imagined, holding the life she had created, the proof that she had not only survived, but grown. As she turned to leave the stage, she swore she saw him. Daniel, not as a ghost, not as a memory, but in a flash, a face in the back row, smiling, proud, at peace. Maybe it was just her heart needing to see him. Or maybe, just maybe, love doesn't disappear. Back at her seat, Monica sat down carefully, Isaiah still bundled against her. He yawned, eyes wide at the lights. She kissed the top of his head. "We did it, baby," she whispered. "We really did." The ceremony passed like a dream. Tossed caps, laughter, hugs. Monica posed for photos, received more hugs than she could count, and watched Isaiah nap peacefully in Mrs. Rodriguez's arms. That evening, back in their apartment, the noise quieted again. Monica placed her cap and diploma on the bookshelf. right, next to Isaiah's little gown. She sat on the floor beside her son, both of them surrounded by the life they had fought for. She was tired, but in that beautiful, earned kind of way, and for the first time in her life, Monica didn't feel like she was waiting for something to fall apart. She felt whole. Tomorrow, new challenges would come: graduate school, work, motherhood. But she'd face them the same way she'd faced everything else, with grit, with grace, with love. Because she was Monica Foster, a daughter who had been left behind, a student who never stopped showing up, a mother who refused to give up, and now, a graduate, a survivor, and a woman writing the rest of her story on her own terms.